So we all know what's happening with Iran. Trump decided to listen to the craziest guys inside of his administration and knock off one of the ISIS, the biggest enemy of ISIS, General Soleimani. Is that how we're saying it? Soleimani.
Come on.
And so then the Iran struck back at a base, an American base, but they didn't kill anybody. So that's the good. That was so they had to have a response, right? So all else their own people would have. You know, the thing is, so let me just play. Here's so CBS News brings on this guy, right? So this guy is a former deputy director of CIA, Mike Morrell. He was the one who predicted that there would be no Russiagate evidence. Remember, we did a story about him, and he 2 years ahead of time he predicted there ain't going to be any evidence of it, and he was right. And I wonder how he knew that. Because he's at the top of the CIA and he knows that they made all this shit up. So anyway, here he is. They bring him on as their expert about war. And now here he, normally they bring out a guy from Raytheon on CBS to talk about war. But here they brought on the former guy from the intelligence community. And it wasn't so horrible. This is kind of interesting. So let's all watch.
Overt war, which is us killing Qasem Soleimani, taking responsibility, and them now firing back from Iran, taking responsibility. That's the overt war. Hopefully that can de-escalate now. But that doesn't mean the covert war is over. In fact, I think there.
So the overt, he's saying he thinks it's over, 1-1. The overt war, the one out in the open, is over. We hit them, they hit us back. But he's saying there's still another covert. Now, this is what we talked about. Even if we come to peace with Iran, the way that the Trump administration did this attack was to not only piss off people inside of Iran, but Shia Muslims all over the Shia Muslim world. So even though you can make a deal and have peace with Iran proper, there's going to be Shias all over the region who aren't going to be in that deal, who still want to strike back at the United States because Soleimani was seen as a hero of theirs for saving them from the ravages of ISIS, saving Iran and other places from stuff like happened in Syria and happened in Libya, fighting against. So that's so now he's going to talk about that.
There are two things we need to think about here. One is still down the road at some point, an assassination of a senior U.S. official somewhere in the world, it could be months from now, to get revenge. And then two.
Now imagine that. Imagine they take out one of our generals anywhere. Who knows? In Iraq or in Syria, in Libya, or any of the other 80,000 countries where we happen to be occupying it or drone bombing at this time. So that's what he's saying. That'll probably happen. That's what he said. That's what we have to worry about. But okay, here we go.
We still have to worry about those Iranian proxies. They may still attack U.S. military bases. We've seen some rocket attacks since Soleimani was killed, and we have to remember, Anne-Marie, that Iran has.
So what he's saying there. So. I'll say this. The way that Trump administration attacked Iran by taking out Soleimani, what that did, as I just explained, is going to make it impossible to reach a détente, a peace agreement. It's going to be almost impossible because even though the Trump administration might get that deal with Iran, he calls them proxies from around the region are going to be attacking the United States. So that's exactly what guys like John Bolton want, and Pat Clausen, and the crazy neocons, and Pompeo. They want a conflict that we can't stop. That's what the military, do you understand? They gave them an extra 100. Do you know what the cash cow, unbelievable cash cow, the military industrial complex is? They need a conflict that can't be stopped. And that's what they're trying to get with this. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah, when they need something vague too. So if it's just a huge region of people that are ticked off,
Right.
Then you can just have this vague like blanket, like, oh, we're against the terrorism, whatever that means. We don't even know what terrorism is, by the way. We don't even have that clearly defined. But that's what we're against, and that's what we have to fight indefinitely for another 20 years because this happened.
That's exactly right, Ron. We were fighting ISIS, which is exported from Saudi Arabia, and now we're just going to fight Shias, right? Because why? Because we provoked them. That's why. So let's hear what else he has to say.
Some control over these proxies, but not complete control. So even though Iran may not want them to attack U.S. bases, they could still do that, and they could still drag us towards a war.
So what he's saying is exactly what we've been saying here and have said previously, that the way they did this attack was so that you couldn't unwind this, so that it would be almost automatically ratcheted up. So that's what we're going to look for. We're going to look for people outside of the control of Iran's government to be attacking the United States. And that could take the form of anything, even a terrorist attack inside.
Not really. The one issue, Anne-Marie, that nobody is really talking about is the Iranian decision to remove the restrictions on the enrichment of uranium, the restrictions that were put on it by the nuclear deal. And the reason that's
So let me just reframe that for you. So he's saying that the Iranians decided to pull out of the nuclear deal they had, which kept them from limiting their enrichment of the uranium. So he's saying the Iranians pulled out. Well, you and I both, everyone knows that Trump pulled out of that. That it was Trump was the first one to pull out of that agreement, and he's
even
framing
been saying
as if,
it as of recently. I mean,
Yes.
even simultaneously, Trump's like, "Yeah, that was bad, and I got us out of that." Well, this guy's going, "Oh no, it was them."
Yeah, now he's trying to say it was the Iranians who did it unilaterally, or he's framing it that way for sure to mislead people watching. Here we go.
important is because Iran will very quickly get back to a level of enriched uranium that so concerned Israel that Israel back in 2000.
So again, it's never going to stop. So this is exactly what crazy people like Pompeo and John Bolton wanted. They wanted a situation that you can't unwind. So now Iran's going to start enriching their uranium again, and now Israel's going to want to strike them for that, and now Shias are going to want to strike the United States. So they got what they wanted. It seems like they're going to get what they wanted. They wanted they wanted a conflict that you couldn't stop.
Yeah, and they want us to always be at war with Eurasia.
Yeah, this is it. We've always been at war with Eurasia.
Mm-hmm.
This is it. So again, now, and anybody who voted for Trump because he was an anti-interventionist, you just saw him get rolled by the military-industrial complex. That's him trying to start a war and trying to start a conflict that, again, you can never stop or unwind. So he let you down. And if you think his second term, if he gets one, will be less militaristic than the first one, you're drinking Kool-Aid. So this is what's happening. This is the way they did it. And it's funny to see guys like this guy. I expected him to come up and be way more bellicose towards. I thought, but he actually sounds reasonable. Like, well, maybe we could stop. Maybe because he knows it's already too late to stop it. I don't know. But he seems kind of reasonable in this interview. In fact, he goes on to say, ironically, this gives us a chance to have some peace talks with Iran. This will bring them to the table. I don't think so. I think that the Iranians, what this teaches them is that it's useless to make a peace agreement with the United States. And you better find a way to enrich your uranium and get a nuke, because that's what North Korea did, and guess what? We're not bombing them. Libya gave up their arms, and look what we did to Libya.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, compared to like the, a lot of the corporate media just rehashing the Iraq soundtrack and just inserting different names, he does sound reasonable. At least he's giving, an analysis of what's going on. But
maybe,
it's beyond discouraging.
Yes, it is. So there you go. I mean, that's really the news so far on what's happening. It's just ironic too because Soleimani was on a peace mission. It's just the dumbest. Well, it's not dumb. If you know what the military-industrial complex's goal is, their goal is to have chaos in the Middle East forever.
Yeah, Iran was on the list of countries.
Yeah,
They were on the list.
yeah, and so they got it. So this comes from and why is Trump allowed to do this? Because the Democrats are complicit. Because the Democrats are also in bed with the military-industrial complex. Because every president since World War II is a war criminal. That's why. The Democrats, while they're screaming about impeaching him, were giving him the money to bomb these people. Anything else?
And more.
Add more.
Gave him a new NAFTA, too.
And then they gave him the new
Gave
NAFTA.
him all kinds of stuff.
They increased his spying powers. They gave him new NAFTA. They gave him they gave him money for his frickin' border wall. They gave him 131 extra billion in the NDAA, and they took out the provisions that would have stopped him from doing this specifically. So I already talked about this in the other video we did on this with Max Blumenthal, but Democrats had placed into the NDAA, and it got bipartisan support to say Trump is not allowed to do this. You're not allowed to take any of the money we're giving you and use it to attack Iran. They took that out, and the Democrats went along with it. So,
well, not just went along with it. Nancy Pelosi was vocally against all those amendments.
was she?
Mm-hmm.
She was vocally against.
She
those
was
amendments?
against them.
Really?
Yeah, like she was not for them.
I did not know. I did not know that. I thought she rolled over, but she was actually against them.
Yeah, she was not for those amendments. She was not for Ro Khanna's or Barbara Lee's.
Really?
And then Tulsi had a resolution. Yeah.
Tulsi had a resolution that was in there also that.
She was off on all those.
Wow. That's all I can keep saying is wow. It's just it's amazing the unbelievable corruption inside of both our political parties. But you know, I grew up in a Democratic household. We always thought the Republicans were corrupt and working for the business, and that the Democrats were working for the workers. And that was we thought. Turns out that's not no longer. They're both in bed with big business. They both work for big pharma, health insurance, military-industrial complex, Wall Street, and fossil fuels. The Democratic Party, they're done it so long and have become so corrupt. They lost to Trump. That's how bad it's gotten. Everybody, come see a live Jimmy Dore show. We're going to be in Portland on January 11th and 12th, then Tempe, Sacramento, San Jose, Miami, and a lot more. Go to jimmydorecomedy.com for a link for all tickets for all our live shows. And please go to jimmydorecomedy.com/join. Become a premium member. We give you tons of extra material every week. Thanks for your support.